To make $1 million a year as a coach, you only need 17 clients paying you $5,000 a month. And right now there are thousands of coaches charging that and more despite being worse at coaching than you. And it's not because they have bigger audiences, more experience, or richer clients. In fact, 2 of my own coaching clients, both under the age of 21, are charging over $5,000. And they did that with fewer than 1,200 followers. And just last week alone, I turned down a client with 100,000 followers who was ready to send me $10,000. And I'll tell you why shortly. And I've done this more times than I can count. More than 1,000 clients have paid $5,000 or more to get coaching from me and my team. And after a decade of helping other coaches do the same, I can tell you that the ability to charge that much comes down to 4 cardinal rules. So if you clicked onto this video because you're sick of low-paying clients draining your energy and you want to make more in your coaching business, pay very close attention because this is the last video that you will ever need to watch on this topic. In particular, stay until rule 4 because that's the one that prints the money long term. Because by the end of this video, you will have the ability to charge $5,000 or more and a copy and pastable way to get clients lining up to work with you. So the first thing that anyone who's charging $5,000 and up understands is the 10% rule. A client will happily pay you $5,000, but only when they believe the outcome you deliver is worth at least $50,000 to them. The price has to look like 10% of the results that they get. That's why it's the 10% rule. Most coaches set their price by looking at what other coaches in their niche charge or what feels comfortable to them. The coaches at 5K and up don't. They set the price by looking at what the client is already burning on the problem. Then they take just 10% of that number so that it's a no-brainer to the client. When I started online over a decade ago as an online fitness coach, I was pricing what I did. So the workouts, the check-ins, the meal plans, and people told me that $100 a month was too expensive. And the moment that I applied the 10% rule, those same kinds of people happily paid me $5 to $7K for that very same fitness program. And there are 2 ways to figure this out: conscious value and subconscious value. So conscious value is clear. It's where they put X dollars in and they get 10X more dollars out on the other side. For example, if a business coach helps a client go from 70K a year to 120K a year, that's a 50K increase, the client can do the math. They consciously know that the outcome is worth 50K to them. So if they charge 5K, it's an obvious yes with the 10X rule applied. But the second is subconscious value. And this is what I didn't understand when I was a fitness coach. And it's what almost every B2C coach misses. So a weight loss client never says, I value losing 30 pounds at $60,000, but look at the money that they're spending and the time they're thinking about it. $80 a month on a gym membership that they barely use that they've had for the last 10 years, that alone is $9,600. The 2K Peloton gathering dust in their garage also adds up to the total. And let's not even mention the 50K surgery that their doctor mentioned that they should consider. If you add it up, they are already burning through tens of thousands chasing the very same outcome that you sell. So here's the tactic. Add 1 question to your application form, which is, what have you already spent in both time and money trying to solve this? And don't expect them to be 100% honest, but by reading the answers, you'll be able to gauge just how many dollars they've really invested into this. And if you look at the time, you can gauge what their hourly rate could be. For example, someone earning $200,000 a year, that's around $100 an hour. If they're spending 10 hours thinking about this every week, you can do the math from here. Then you just add the 2 together, the actual dollar amount they've invested and the time amount that you've quantified via a numbers metric, a dollar value. 10% of that total is your new price floor. And here's why this works. Your customer isn't deciding whether to spend new money. They are already spending the money, and your offer just redirects 10% of it to someone who can actually deliver the results, aka you. So you price the outcome that they're already paying for, not the work that you do. That is the 10% rule. But here's the catch. The 10% rule only works if you can actually get $5,000 clients in front of you in the first place, which is why the second cardinal rule is the social media sales system. The social media sales system is a 5-phase sales system that you're probably not using that consistently takes strangers from social media and turns them into high-ticket coaching clients. And phase 5 of this system is the one that determines whether the money that you just made actually stays in your bank account. Now, most coaches are posting on social, hoping someone DMs, jumps on a discovery call, then you pitch, you hear, let me think about it, then you send them a proposal, get ghosted, and then you call it a day. But the coaches charging 5K and up, they don't do that. Remember the 2 under 21 years old coaches that I mentioned at the beginning of the video? Well, they use the social media sales system to generate 5K clients with less than 1,200 followers between them. Let me show you how. And to explain, let's take an ideal client of yours and let's call them Bobby. Bobby follows you and they might like an occasional post here and there, there, but they've never actually DM'd you. But they're the type of follower that you are currently not doing anything with, and the type that coaches who are charging 5K and up are turning into paying clients every single week without pitching anyone or posting every day. And they're doing it with the social media sales system. And the first phase is attract. This is how Bobby gets into your world. Now, if you're posting your offer to social media or you're telling people to message you the word blah blah to get XYZ resource, I need to let you in on a secret. The coaches who are charging the price you want to be charging don't even pitch a resource, maybe once every now and then, but instead they start the sales process by using what I call a sideways CTA. It's a call to action so discreet that the algorithm doesn't notice that you are mining to get leads, and the viewers themselves feel like you're helping them, not starting a sales process. So here's how it works. Within your post, when you mention a system or a framework or a tool, you then just drop one line and you say, just message me if you want it. Now, the sideways CTA works because it doesn't feel like you're pitching, and it means that you get Bobby to raise their hand first, meaning they have a higher likelihood of becoming a client of yours rather than you reaching out to them, since they've already seen that you have something to offer to them and they wanted it. So here's the tactic. Pick your next post, drop one sideways CTA in the middle, just mention the resource that you can send to anyone. They just have to message you in order to get it. And the goal of phase one is just one thing. Bobby raises their hand first. And this is absolutely critical when you're trying to sell high ticket coaching clients. But once you have the lead, what do you do with them? Well, most people who are stuck charging low prices, they pitch right away or they chat back and forth forever. But instead, phase two of the social media sales system is finding out if they need your help. So that looks like sending them the resource from phase one, then sending them a second message. It should say, what are you most hoping to use this for? A, B, or C. And you make sure that A, B, and C are all things that you actually do in your business, in your offer for clients. So for example, I might say, what are you most hoping to use this for? To generate more leads, to increase your profit, or to apply AI in your sales system? Did you catch what just happened? Whenever anyone replies to that question, they walk through the door telling you that they have a problem that you can solve, meaning you can continue them through the next phase of the sales process by booking them onto a sales call super naturally, super organically, because your prospect is seeing this as value. And here's why this works. It's because they walked themselves into the sales conversation by picking A, B, or C. They told you they have a problem that you have the solution to. And I have specific scripting for booking the sales call and during the sales call itself, the entire DM process. And if you want the scripting that we use across, they are down in the description and you can get them completely free. And that was an example of using a sideways CTA like I promised you. Can you see how natural that was? Now with the sales call booked, we can move on to phase three. The pre-sale asset. Now, the pre-sale asset is one piece of content like a 4-minute testimonial video that Bobby watches before they show up on the sales call. Now, most coaches, they'll send a Calendly link and then they hope, but those who are charging $5,000 and up, they send proof first. So here's why this works. By the time that Bobby is on the Zoom call, they've already watched someone like them win. The method already works in their head, and then the call becomes a confirmation, not a sale. And in an ideal world, as you go on, you'll build up a bank of testimonials. So depending on the prospect, you can send a testimonial for someone who's in a very similar situation to them or who's a similar demographic to them. Because then the goal of phase three is just one thing. Bobby walks in warm. That is pre-sale. And that's where the fourth phase comes in, which is the sales call. Now, most coaches treat a sales call like a presentation or a coaching call, but when you are selling coaching or an agency service for 5K or up, the rule is non-negotiable. You get them to make a decision on the call. Now, I've taken more than 5,000 sales calls in my time, and I am telling you, only a handful who went away to think about it actually came back and bought. So stop wasting your time following up and instead use the sales call to get them to close. And close means close the conversation. Get a yes or a no. The goal of phase four is one thing. Bobby decides on the call. That is closing. But with high ticket, Bobby paying doesn't mean the money is yours yet, because that's why phase five exists. It is the 24-hour win. Now, after Bobby says yes, there is a gap before onboarding where doubt creeps in and they may consider asking for a refund. This is buyer's remorse. Whereas the 24-hour win, it kills that gap because Bobby gets a specific result inside of the first 24 hours of saying yes. For example, I had a client G and she sent me this text within 24 hours of starting with me because of a specific post that I got her to make on social media. I call it revenue activation. And you can see she made more than $20,000 just from making that one individual post on her social media, which more than covered the investment that she paid me less than 24 hours ago. So here's what to do. Write down a win that you can deliver inside of 24 hours of payment because the sale doesn't end when the new client says yes. that is when selling them on your services begins. Because the goal of phase 5 of the social media sales system is that Bobby gets a result before they get nervous. And that is how you onboard high ticket clients successfully, justifying the high ticket price that you just charged. This is the good tactical stuff that I'm sharing on this channel specifically for those trying to sell high ticket coaching, consulting, and agency services. So smash that subscribe if you haven't already, because that was the second cardinal rule. The social media sales system gets Bobby from stranger to paying client, but it only works if Bobby's the right Bobby, because if you take on the wrong clients, you are still gonna hate this business even when clients are paying you 5K ahead or more, which is why the third cardinal rule is the 5-star client filter. The 5 things that every client must have before you let them pay you. And remember, if you want the scripting for the social media sales system, it is in the description for you, completely free. Now, the 5-star client filter is a 5 criteria checklist that coaches who are charging 5K and up run every prospect through before they say yes to a client. Because when you're charging a low ticket price, the client is deciding if they want you. But when you're charging high ticket, you need to decide if you actually want the client. It's the difference between scaling and scaling chaos. Because there are 2 kinds of clients that you can take on. Now, the first kind pays you, they do the work, they get the result, and within 6 months, they've referred 2 or 3 more people just like them. But the second kind, they pay you the same amount, and then they go silent for weeks, they blame you when results don't show up, and then eventually tell the people in their world that you didn't deliver on what you promised, because within the sales process, the 2 can look identical if you don't use the right filters. And without the 5-star client filter, it is impossible to see the problems coming. So here's what happens when you skip it. So let's say you've got 30 clients on your roster. About 5 of them will get incredible results. They're the first kind of client that I was just talking about. The other 25 could be a mix of the second kind, where some are just getting okay-ish results, some barely show up, a couple are about to ask you for a refund, and then most of your week ends up going to those 25, chasing them, reassuring them, trying to convince them that their money was well spent. But meanwhile, you've barely got time for your best clients. And because you're dealing with so many headaches, you don't have enough time to go towards sales and marketing to bring in more of those good clients. Now, that is what scaling looks like when you don't know the difference between a 5-star client and the rest. So here's what this looks like in reality. I had a client called Harlan Kilstein, and he had 70 leads come in within 24 hours. So 70 people who wanted to work with him.
I had so many responses that I had to put them into a Facebook group to deal with them.
Now, most coaches in his position, they would have tried to close every single one of them, desperate for the cash and the validation that their offer is working, but Harlan didn't. He ran every prospect through the 5-star client filter, and he only took on 4 who fit. And those 4 clients, because they were a 5-star fit that I'm about to explain in a moment, he ended up making more from those 4 than he would have if he had taken on the other 66 or so who would have just caused him a bunch of headaches in the end. Because when you're selling high ticket coaching, you know that it's not just about the front end sale, it's also about the sales that you make on the back end. So even though those 4 people joined his initial program, they ended up retaining onto his back end program, which was tens of thousands of dollars a pop. So if you remember that client that I told you that I turned down that had more than 100,000 followers who was ready to pay me 10K, well, you will see in 60 seconds why I turned her down. So here's the filter that Harlan used. Now, what you want to do is run every prospect through these 5 stars before you book a sales call with them. So these 5-star are 5 criteria. So the first criteria is, do they have a problem that you can actually solve? Like, not in theory, for them specifically. If their problem is outside what you've actually solved before, then you can't be certain that you'll get them to the outcome. And if you can't be certain of that, you can't price it at 10% using the 10% rule. So in that case, you would pass. The second criteria is, are they coachable? Now, some people show up to sales calls with their arms crossed. They've already decided that you can't help them. They're there to prove themselves right. Whereas others book that sales call eager, but then by week 2, they've gone. So you need to be really clear about what it looks like to be coachable for your kind of client. The third criteria is, are they willing to pay? Notice I said willing, not can afford. Those are completely different things. A doctor who earns $500,000 a year may really need something that's 5K, but if they're freaking out about the price, they're not willing to spend the money. So there's a difference between having the money to spend and being willing to spend it. Because unlike the doctor, you may have a single mom who's been saving up for 6 months because they believe in the outcome. In that situation, you'd pass on the doctor and you would take on the mom. Because then the fourth criteria is, do you actually like them? Now, a lot of coaches skip this because it feels unprofessional, but it's not. You're gonna be speaking to this person for months. And if you dread them on your calendar, the quality of work is gonna tank when you don't actually mean for it to, and they'll feel it, and the results will suffer because of that. And the fifth criteria is, do they fit the avatar? Are they the exact person that you positioned for? Oh, and that's one of the cardinal rules coming up soon. Because different avatars mean different problems, meaning different work. And then the whole business breaks down when you start serving people that you weren't built for. Every single one of those 5 stars has to be a yes. 4 out of 5 is not enough. And if you remember that client that had 100,000 followers that was ready to send me 10K, she failed star 4, and I would have dreaded every single call. And look, I never said, but she had the money, but the case study would have been great. She failed 1 star, and 1 star is enough. So I would strongly suggest you pull up the last 10 clients that you took on and you run all 10 through the 5 stars retrospectively and mark the star which they failed. That is your training data. So next time someone also fails that star, you will know immediately because they'll look like that person. Now, the goal of the 5-star client filter is one thing: to protect the 5 dream clients that you take on from the other 25 that would drain them and you. But filtering for the right Bobby only works if you've set yourself up to attract the right Bobby in the first place, which is why the 4th and final cardinal rule is the one that prints the money in the long term, and it's the one that most coaches never figure out, but you will. It's the compounding niche. And this matters more than ever right now because the internet is flooded by people who have no idea what they're doing, and AI is making it worse because anyone can spin up a coaching practice within a day, and those charlatans are landing the clients who should be coming to you. So let's do a quick pop quiz. Pull up your main social media platform right now. I want you to read your bio, then tell me which of these 3 bios sounds like you the most. So for option A, I'll use the example of a coach for mums. So your bio probably says helping mums or supporting mums or something close. Now for option B, I'll use a leadership coach, where the bio probably calls you an executive leadership coach. And with option C, I'll use the example of a mindset coach, where the bio probably talks about the ABC transformation method or whatever framework you've named. So which one do you most resonate with? Now, if you do resonate with A, B, or C, and your bio kind of frames what you do like one of those options that I just gave, you are missing 2 elements that every coach charging $5,000 and up has in their bio. And the second of those 2 is the one that most coaches never figure out. So element 1 is one specific person that you help, and element 2 is one specific outcome that they get. Now, one of our clients came to us thinking that they already had this down. So meet Mina.
My monthly revenue was very inconsistent.
She was incredibly passionate about the work that she does with clients and kept telling me about all the training that she was doing to get better. But Mina was stuck.
I would have months where I was earning 3,500, and then other months where it would shoot up and I would maybe even do as much as 15,000.
She was describing her method, energy healing, but she was forgetting the 2 elements of the compounding niche. So we fixed it for her. And it took Mina from inconsistent revenue to
bring in £60,000 revenue.
So let's fix the 2 elements of the compounding niche for you too. So the first element is where you work with one specific person. Now, I don't mean just a mum here or a doctor, right? Mina was talking to anyone that needs healing, which is not a person, it is a category. A specific person is one that you can picture in your head. Let's take an example. So Sarah, 38, divorced last year. She runs a 7-figure online business. She gained 30 pounds during the divorce. She hates the gym. She's tried every diet. Like, that's the level of specific that I mean. Most coaches think moms or executives are specific. It is not. Those are categories, and Sarah is a person. So when you know the person, the rest gets easy because you know what they read, what time they wake up, what scares them at 3 a.m., and you write content for them, not the category that they belong in. So here's your action item. Write down 3 sentences describing the person that you help, their age, their situation, and what's keeping them up at 3 a.m. right now. Because then the second element is one specific outcome. Now, this is the one that I said most coaches never figure out, so stay with me here. Mina's outcome was healing. And it made sense to her, but it was really vague to other people because you know your work, but those who need it, they don't. That's why they need you. So here's the formula that you can use so your 5-star clients see that they need you. It's this: achieve outcome in time frame without thing that they hate. So here are some examples. Lose 30 pounds in 6 months without giving up wine. Add 50K to your monthly revenue in 90 days without hiring a team. Reconnect with your teenage son in 6 weeks without family therapy. Now each one fills all 3 slots. It has a specific outcome, a believable time frame, and a without that handles the objections before they raise it. Now, most coaches fail here because they try to cram 5 outcomes into one offer. I help women lose weight and build confidence and find love and grow their business and heal their inner child. But that's not an outcome. It's a kind of like a wish list. You want to have one outcome that gives the same client the same result every time. So pause this video and take 60 seconds right now to fill in the formula. Achieve outcome in time frame without thing they hate. And if you can't fill all 3 slots in one sentence, then your offer is still too broad and you'll struggle to charge $5,000 and up. Now, you've got the 2, you'll do 2 things with them. And once you've got that down, you want to put it in your bio right at the top, not your method, not your title. You want to put in who you help and what they're going to get. And then every piece of content that you make from now on speaks to that one person about that one outcome. Every post, every DM, every sales call, same person, same outcome, no exceptions. It's going to make your business a lot easier because that's when the compounding starts, because your testimonials will show the same transformation. Your referrals come from one type of client to another exactly like them, and your content stacks because every post sharpens the same hook for the same person. So that's why it's called the compounding niche. You put in the same work, you stack it over time, and you're able to charge a premium price. You have to embody all 4 cardinal rules so that you can sell your coaching and agency services for $5,000 or more, where you price the outcome that your client is already paying for, not the work that you do. Rule number 2 is a social media sales system where you follow the 5 phases that turn followers into paying clients without you ever pitching. The third rule is the 5-star client filter. 5 criteria every prospect runs through before you ever say yes. And the 4th rule is the compounding niche, where you niche down by picking one person and one outcome, allowing each effort to increase upon the last. And I'm trying my absolute best to bring the non-obvious stuff that you typically don't get here about generating sales for your offers. And I'm focused on serving business owners who are growing their business through social media. If that's you, this is the very best channel for you. Because now you know how to charge $5,000 or more, you can see how you could land 17 clients a month to make $1 million a year. And like I mentioned, if you want the full scripting for the social media sales system, the DM templates, the triage call script, it's all in the description for you. And with AI, we've been able to automate huge amounts of the social media sales system, which I break down in this video that you must watch next. Watch it right now and you'll know something the others in your niche don't. So click right there and I'll see you over there next.